All right, so then what is self-compassion? So I'd like to invite everybody just to do a little reflection, and that is to think about a dear friend that you may have, uh, or just think generally about a friend who just experienced some misfortune. Maybe is failed or feels inadequate. And you have, 5 minutes with your friend. How would you treat your friend? Just thinking to yourself for a moment. How would you treat your friend? What would the tone of your voice be? Physically, what would you do? What words would you say? What would be your physical posture vis-a-vis your friend? Would you walk around like, whoa, or would you be, oh, Just think about what comes naturally that way. And then think about a time when you struggled, suffered, failed, felt inadequate. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you didn't get a job you wanted, or you got rejected by a friend, or somebody, dissed you in some way. Think about that. And what then went on in your head when you were experiencing discomfort? Because you had failed or you feel inadequate. If you talk to yourself, what do you say? What is the tone? Are you patient? Are you impatient? Are you demanding? Are you listening? What kind of words go through your mind? What's your physical posture when you've just failed? And then the question is, do you notice a difference? Actually, why don't we open up the chat for a moment? And if you want, you can write down anything that you might have experienced during that little reflection, especially around it. Was there a difference? So for me, shame and judgment comes up. Judge myself more than I would a friend, Carla said. Become self-critical, Amy. Sean, more warm toward my friend, Margareta. Very warm towards my friend, cold towards myself. All right, thank you all. Thank you, Gina. Yeah, closed posture for self. Yeah, we're kind of like this, Right. Okay, so you get it. There's a difference for most of us. Actually, 78% of us are more compassionate toward others than ourselves. We're better at it for others. And 6% of people are more compassionate to themselves than they are toward others, and about 16% are equal. Yeah, so then what is self-compassion? A informal definition of self-compassion, and if you're following in your on the PDF, this is the slide number 8, is treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding as we would treat a dear friend when things go wrong. So it's like a U-turn. Naturally, what's interesting is that in the Buddhist tradition, but actually in all ancient wisdom traditions, the message is always, you feel benevolent toward yourself, you do like yourself, you've been caring for yourself your whole life, you know what that's like, why don't you do the same for another person? So in the Visuddhimagga, when the instruction is you start with yourself because it's the most natural thing. Ironically, now is not the most natural thing. The most natural thing is actually how we is the kindness that flows more easily toward others. So therefore, the way we teach self-compassion is we first connect with how somebody feels toward a loved one, and then we add ourselves. In other words, may you be happy, may you be safe, may you be peaceful. Then we move to may you and I be happy, may you and I be peaceful. And then very gently, we see if we can release the other person and just give that to ourselves. So we almost kind of trick ourselves into being kind to ourselves. But what's really interesting about this is if you ever wonder in any situation, how can I be more compassionate to myself right now? The answer is ask yourself simply, how would I treat a dear friend like now, right now? What would I, who had the same situation, what would I say to this friend? What would I do with this friend? And then the question is, can you do it for yourself? So people who have been practicing self-compassion for a while, they actually are their own best friend. This is a remarkable thing. Not to leave your home ever without your best friend. Not to, with the nearest and dearest, waking up with your nearest and dearest, going to sleep. Because actually we are more capable of knowing what we need and giving ourselves the love we need than anybody is capable of giving to us. That doesn't mean we don't need it. We are social creatures. We need a lot of love from others. But just by thinking, how would I treat a friend? Can I treat myself like this? And then over time, developing that kind of friendship with yourself changes life. There's never a moment of loneliness. There's never a broken heart that isn't touched by your own heart. So this is possible. I've certainly, over the last 15 years, gotten closer and closer to that. And I'll never get there because self-compassion is not a destination. You never arrive. We're only practicing.